2025 is a little bit underway, so we have had some teasing, but I asked you, my friends, to give me your bold predictions for WWE in 2025. So sit your tush in the chair and get a coffee, and let's go. And we start with Rot1, which I'm sure is your real name. Appreciate you, Rot. And you kept it nice and simple, even though I did ask for bold predictions, but I still appreciate you, because you said that Joe Hendry is going to be in the Royal Rumble. This is where I introduced the Simon Millermedia. That's not a thing. I got that wrong too, but I'm going to call it that now. And I give that a 9 out of 10 rating. I think it would be crazy for Joe Hendry not to be in the Royal Rumble in 2025, because even though it has quietened down on the WWE side of things, that's smart. You don't want to run these things into the ground. They picked their moment. Again, he broke social media. And if we are talking about surprises in the 2025 Royal Rumble, it's like the perfect one. I'm sure there's other people you could introduce too. I would do it with Jordynne Grace again if she is going to sign. And no one apart from Joe Hendry and TNA knows what their relationship is. But it felt like it benefited them before. It feels like it would benefit them again. And Joe has a character where if you want to do the Santino Marella thing, you could do it. If you wanted him to have a few surprise eliminations, you can do it. He understands professional wrestling, hence why he got over to the degree that he did. Sometimes just do the obvious. Totally down with that. Put Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble. And 19, Jake, 9790. I like to think that's when you were born. Actually, that means you were born in the future. Oh my gosh, thank you. So maybe this is real, because I actually was quite surprised by this. Now, if you had said to me that Ricky Starks debuts in the WWE or NXT, for sure, but you have gone with Ricky Starks wins the Intercontinental title. Now, right now, that would mean he'd be mixing up with maybe a Sheamus, a Bron Breakker, a Kaiser, a Ludwig Kaiser, I should say. I love the idea. I truly do. But I'm actually of the belief that Ricky Starks should go through NXT. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a demotion. I don't think it's WWE like, oh, we come from AEW. I just think you want to introduce, when people do jump ship, in many different ways. Obviously, Cody went straight to the main roster at WrestleMania. Pentagon, by the time you've seen this, has probably jumped in WWE on Raw. So making sure that people are jumping up in NXT too, that just helps WWE overall. And let's not forget as well, if you are just a WWE guy, you may not be aware of Ricky Starks. Establish him in NXT, give him an awesome world title run, then actually when he does debut on the main roster, he'll probably get an even bigger pop and it will feel like a bigger deal. I hate all this horrible words against NXT. It's a terrific show, but either then. Do I think he'll win the IC title in 2025? I don't. So on the Simon Millermedia, I will give it a 5 out of 10. It certainly could happen, but I wouldn't bet my hair on it. Number 18, Shane MGD. I don't know how you've come up with this. But you predicted that the Judgment Day will split and golf in different directions, for sure. But then you wrote that Liv, Raquel, and Dom will join the Final Testament. Listen, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for following me and enjoying. That's a terrible idea. You don't want to move them from one group to the next. It's different if it was like a Carlito. No shade on Carlito. I like Carlito, but he is kind of just sitting in the background. Liv Morgan is a former champion, just had her best year ever. She can stand on her own 2 feet. Dominic Mysterio, as far as I'm concerned, has world championship material in his loins down the road. And Raquel Rodriguez is like a massive badass heater bad guy. I repeated myself there. But when she was coming out and flexing her back as a good guy, I would always say, come on, man, you've got to start this person off as a heel. And we haven't really lent into that yet because, again, she's just been sort of the third wheel. Not in a bad way. That's totally fine. But we should focus on that first. If anything, you want to take the Final Testament and just do anything with them because they're way too hit and miss at the moment. Although I do really like the team. So I'm whacking a 2 out of 10 on that. More importantly, don't want it to happen. Number 17 comes from my man Aaron. I've always got to shout out Aaron because he was very good to me in 2024 and he is a good friend. I'm whacking a 10 out of 10 on it. Again, we keep things simple. John Cena breaks the record. Absolutely, he will become the 17th world champion. I would bet my hair on this one, and I've told you 1,000 times before, I think he should fail at WrestleMania, and then we get to December, make a pay-per-view for him, a PLE, do it on the last ever Raw in 2025, and yeah, one of the last things we see in WWE in 2025 is John Cena as the world champion. Like, seeing the reaction he got on that Netflix Raw, the man deserves it. There's that wrestling word. And you know, Ric Flair is an all-time legend, but he went everywhere. You know, Jim Crockett and WCW, etc. Whereas John Cena is WWE through and through. And while that doesn't really mean anything to fans, it certainly means something, I think, in the record books. So I would pull the trigger. I think it would be a mistake to not make John Cena the 17th time world champion. That's why I'm whacking a big old 10 out of 10. 16, Heartfelt. Really like this one, especially it kind of ties in. You sent me this before it even happened in NXT, so you may be onto something. But Obi Femi gets called up, and he wins the US title within 2 months. past. Now, he is currently the NXT champion, which to me suggests that Trick Williams should be coming up soon. I'm very excited about that. But I think Obafemi will probably come up in 2025, even though he is the world champion of NXT. And I don't think that's a terrible idea. You shouldn't do this with everybody. You need to pick and choose. But have you seen Obafemi? He is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. He is someone that I would go out of my way to see, even if I wasn't consistently watching NXT. So why muck around? Because he has the size, it's not like you have to work harder to get him over. Wrestling is aesthetic business, so it's awesome if you are an absolute tank. So yeah, just do that. I've whacked a 9 out of 10 on it, but if I wanted to manifest it, I'd be happy to go up for a 10. I think Obafemi is a future main eventer at WrestleMania, or at least a future world champion, depending on what goes on. Again, you don't know what the lay of the land will be at the time, but a future star, no doubt. He's damn good. 15 is kind of similar too. Thank you to Mark Jones, who says Roxanne gets called up and wins the Royal Rumble. Given that she just lost the Women's Championship to Julia, I think that probably will happen. I will whack an 8 out of 10 on this. That's kind of me splitting hairs, though. I do think she'll be in the Royal Rumble. I don't think she'll win the Royal Rumble, although I've said this for years. Somebody one day should just pop up and go, oh, hi, and win the Royal Rumble, even though nobody expects it, because we've never really done it before. And I'd love to see, does it work? Is it too much too soon? Are we able to turn them into a star in such a short period? Do you have to pick the right person? Can it be anybody? It's more of an experiment, and you don't want to waste the Royal Rumbles, but given that we do have 2 a year, kind of ties into what we did with Money in the Bank in 2024. Drew cashed in on the day, so Tiffany Stratton was able to extend hers out till January. But yes, Roxanne in the Rumble, absolutely. Roxanne kicking ass on the main roster, absolutely. Winning the Rumble, gonna give it a 4. I can't see it. 14 comes from a man, Peter Nixon. We've wrestled before, so that's cool. And he has gone with John Cena will be number 17 in the Rumble. I like that. I hadn't even thought about that. That's a nice touch. He will not win, and that's the story for the rest of the year. The climb back to the top to become the 17th world champion. I wanted to throw that in there because I want to give you some ones that I believe are proper predictions. Although a lot of these are, to be fair, I'm giving that a 10 out of 10. We've predicted that a lot of other videos. It's what I think WWE should do because it's super interesting. And to steal a line from the Rebooked podcast that was on the other day, make sure you go check that out. Awesome guys. You know, they were putting it like it's the opposite. It's like everyone's like, oh, John Cena needs to put people over. Well, a corner of the internet is. Well, you could have him win, and then he loses and puts someone over. Or he can lose, put a bunch of people over, and then, you know, we kind of turn everything on its head and John Cena does win in his last match, but he still put other people over. Again, the business and the industry has changed. So absolutely down for that. And honestly, I don't think there's actually a better story to tell. So just tell that one. Number 13 comes from another Peter. They were just known as Peter, so I hope you're doing well, Peter. I gave this a 1 out of 10, mostly because I was offended by it. Rey Mysterio retires. Listen, if Rey Mysterio is retiring, you do what you did with Sting, you do what you do with John Cena, a Tanahashi, a Jeff Jarrett now in AEW. He gets to go out with all the pageantry in the world, and also you should be building to him versus Dominic in their last match. I presume it would be, or their third match, whatever you want to call it. Rey Mysterio changed the game. Never forget that. There's been lots of people that have come along and shifted professional wrestling. Without Rey Mysterio, you ain't getting 75% of what you see on TV today. If you don't believe me, go back and read about Rey Mysterio. So that gets a 1 out of 10. This better not happen. Number 12 comes from Brian1456. Again, let's hope he was born then, because he's going to be super in the past. Love the fact you're still on the wrestling train. I've given this a 10 out of 10, mostly because I want it. Drew McIntyre becomes the world champion. Yes, I would move him onto SmackDown. I would build the show around him, and I would just turn him into a super duper whooper main eventer and, a dominant heel guy. I mean, he's earned it, if you want to use those kind of words. He comes across that way. We did put him on that Raw Netflix show, which I think is a good sign, because you're not going to put anybody willy-nilly on that thing. So just do it. Again, that's why it gets a perfect score on the Simonometer. He is in the position now, especially because he only held that World Championship at WrestleMania for like 4 minutes or whatever, where he's done everything that he needs to do. And the last piece of the puzzle is giving him that, oh my gosh, I'm such a villain, but you can't take this title off me. You could even build a group around him. I know that kind of falls into stereotypical territory with WWE, but it worked with the Judgment Day, it worked with the Bloodline, with someone else I'm not thinking of right now. So you can do it again, especially if people like the Judgment Day are going to go away. It almost opens up the door. And also, it's wonderful irony for Drew. He moaned about the Bloodline the entire time, and then he's going to create his own bloodline. I really think you should do it. Number 11, Debo. We're going to zoom through this one. I gave you a 0 out of 10. I apologize. Cody Rhodes goes back to AEW. That is not happening. Number 10 comes from McQueely. I hope I got that that right. 9 out of 10 for you, again, mostly because I want it. Asuka returns and wins a single title in 2025. Sadly, I don't think she'll win a world championship again, although she should, because she's one of the best wrestlers ever. Forget all this men-women nonsense. I'm talking about all time. But those Intercontinental and US championships are going to need to have lots of bodies with them, and you're going to have lots of competitors in order to make them feel legitimate. That takes time. And you whack one on Asuka, and everything is going to be fine. I genuinely miss her from my television. She's just the best. She really is. So I'm with you, my friend. Let's do it. 9 out of 10. Number 9, Doug. I'm really sorry. A, you didn't give me your last name. B, you were in a very entertaining cartoon from 20 or so years ago. Samoa Joe returns to WWE. That gets a 1 out of 10. I don't mind where Samoa Joe goes. I just want to see him, but he ain't going back to WWE. And Reco, however we pronounce that, you also getting a 1 out of 10. I appreciate it because I asked for bold predictions that you could ground in reality, and this kind of works. Steve Austin has a tag team match on Raw. Dude, WWE asked Steve Austin to be on the Raw Netflix debut, and he said no. I think, and pure speculation on my behalf, because he didn't want his star, his aura, his cinema, whatever you want to call it, to be overshadowed by everything else that is going on, because nobody understands character, and nobody understands how to approach wrestling in the way that Steve Austin does. He has a crazy mind for this stuff, so ain't no way he's just going to turn up on Raw and do a tag team match. He could be at WrestleMania, but even then I think we would know now. He just gets it, and he's the best. I put a 1 out of 10 here. Sorry, Reek, man. I'm reducing that to 0. 7, this is Mickey Share, or Mikey Share, or Mickey's here, one of the three, or MK is here. Mortal Kombat, thank you very much. 9 out of 10, Charlotte Flair returns and wins a world championship. Yes, I think it's going to happen. And whether she takes it off a Rhea Ripley, or she takes it off a Tiffany Stratton, I want her back and forth. Not like a hot potato wing like we did in the Attitude Era, but let's say it's Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown. Although I think she'll be on Raw given that it's Netflix, but we'll just go with that. She should beat Tiffany, and Tiffany should beat her, and she should beat Tiffany, and then Tiffany should beat her, and then it should be 2026. I think at least one of the championship this year, there is potential to turn it into like a extended feud that goes on longer than you think it will go on, but the story and the matches are so good you're able to pull it off. And I'm quite excited that Charlotte Flair is going to come back as a bit of a badass heel. I think that's her best role, but it would be really good, especially because Tiffany Stratton is so over right now. I'm giving that a 9 out of 10, and handled right, I think it could be pretty good. Number 6, Bandal, you wonderful human being. I do have to give you a 4 because I don't believe it, but I want it so bad. Finn Balor will be world champion for at least a month. I mean, there is that rumor that he's going to get a massive push this year, and I really hope he does. Finn Balor is both correctly rated and underrated, depending on who you talk to. But he is another guy that has made such an influence and such a difference for wrestling, and I do think we should be shouting about him more. The Judgment Day will die, and then yes, even if he's in the world title picture, I'll be happy. But if you do want to belt him up, to use that stupid term, I will be a happy ball guy. Number 5, it goes to Stephanie. 8 out of 10 for you. Punk leaves WrestleMania as world champion. I think there's a huge chance this could happen. I think he's either going to go in as champion or leave as champion. The thing is this, forget all the other stuff, the controversy, who you like, who you don't like. CM Punk is one of the biggest draws in the company. He's one of the most over guys in the company. Depending on what The Rock is doing, he should be in the main event. If that's the case, because he is so beloved at the moment, he should walk away with the belt. That's what we do at WrestleMania. It can be on night 1. If Cody Rhodes and John Cena is going to be night 2. I think right now we should just capitalize on everything we do have with Punk. He is, as I always say, lightning in a bottle. He's an anomaly. And at WrestleMania 41, that should be his time. It should have been his time last year. He got injured. Let's just get it done. Ain't no problem with that. Again, he's genuinely all time. Number 4 comes from Matthew Richards. I'm only giving you a 1 out of 10 because it's controversial. Brock Lesnar returns. Does WWE need Brock Lesnar? No. Do I find it difficult to talk about Brock Lesnar? Yes, because again, he is technically part of a lawsuit, but we can't talk about it too openly because again, that stuff gets into legal territory. Listen, if it comes out and he's completely innocent, then it's fine. If not, just keep him off TV. They don't need him. We don't need to complicate the pudding. Number 3, Joe Markland. Well done for thinking outside the box and coming up with something that you could imagine in your mind's eye. But then when you sit down and consider it, you're like, there's just no way. So you're getting a 1 out of 10, but the learning tree doesn't debut in WWE. Debuts in NXT. So somehow they're all going to leave AEW, and they're all going to turn up on WWE's third brand. I'd actually love it. I think it would be really good, but it's not going to happen. Number 2 comes from Onigiri. I hope I pronounced that right too. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because it's great booking, bro. It's really good booking, but getting there is going to be super interesting. But you have Jade Cargill winning a title, not just from anyone though, from Jordynne Grace, which means Jade Cargill's going to have to enter a title picture. Could be IC US, could be World. Jordynne Grace hopefully will debut in the Rumble and then have to establish herself and win a championship, which will be super duper fast, but then also get into a feud with Jade. and she puts her over. Now, that would be awesome, because again, they're two powerhouses, and I think Jade gets a bad rap. I think as long as you let Jade Cargill with Jade Cargill, she's very good, and Jordynne Grace, genuinely one of the best in the world for sure. She gets better every single year. That is something I hope WWE does, which is why I've gone 7 out of 10, the always safe 7 out of 10. It's just one of those feuds you never thought you would see, and that's absolutely a reason to do it, because you'd be like, oh my gosh, how have we got here? It's a bit of a weird comparison, but Mark Briscoe versus Bobby Lashley on AEW this week, I was like, how has that happened? But it made me happy. And number one is fantastic, because it all depends on how you look at this situation. And I think McGill, that's your real name, has thought about this from a traditional perspective, but also a way just to melt the internet down. I've given you a 2 out of 10 because I can't believe WWE would ever do this. I think even if this did happen, I don't think they'd put it in this scenario. But you had, and this is how you wrote it, heel Cody Rhodes retires John Cena. So I presume we get to John Cena's last match, and Cody Rhodes, I assume, starts his heel turn by mucking off John and sending him into retirement. Now listen, as a man that likes chaos and as a fan and a follower of Dr. Robotnik, that would be wonderful. I think it may be a little bit too sad. What a wuss I am, right? What a wet blanket. But I think sometimes, much like the Sting retirement, I just want to be happy. I just want to enjoy things. That one would probably have me crying into my blanket for the next year. But I do love it, man. Again, as a man who is a follower of chaos, it would be wonderfully fantastic. Hence why I put it at number 1. I was like, man, McGill, you just want to tear the world down. You're the Joker. You just want to see the world burn. But it would be brilliant, because we watch wrestling for stories, and what a story that would be, and it would set Cody off, who flub knows, in whatever direction. So there are 20 crazy predictions for you. Some of them I think dead on the money, some of them a lot more fun, but it's going to be a fascinating year to find out. Like that Raw Netflix show, I think was really special. I think it was really important. And we had a great AEW Dynamite too, so I'm enjoying wrestling. Kenny Omega is back. I'm in love with that man. Now listen, you may have some more predictions. You're more than happy to drop them in the comments below. Please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is me talking about that Raw Netflix debut, to get all of my thoughts. Otherwise, if you're into fitness, please do go to grillermind.com/Simon. You can Simon get 10% off. I only vouch for these because they're the best. Protein, omega pills, pre-workouts, whatever it is, they all work. They're all real. None of this BS you see anywhere else. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on social media. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo, personalized videos, and ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller. But most importantly, my friends, believe, that's kind of a callback, in all of these, and I'll see you soon.